Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another live stream. Got a good one for you today. We got some interesting action in the silver price today, as well as some recent announcements from Samsung that I want to get into later in the show regarding some new technology that they've released, which may create in the long term a significant increase in industrial demand for silver. But before we get into that, let's just take a look at what's going on today, because silver price is having a big day today. There was some data released earlier. Retail sales numbers seems to have convinced investors, traders, trading algorithms that the U.S. not heading for as much of a recession perhaps as previously thought, and thus the price of silver is up. Let's see, at the moment, it's up about 3%, it looks like. And the reason this is important is this is not the biggest, update that we've seen in silver ever. It's not a huge move, but from a technical standpoint, silver has been trending downward since mid-July. So over the past month or so, we've seen this line of resistance that silver has tested once, twice. We were testing it again yesterday, and now we have broken through this. So the short-term technical chart is looking pretty good for silver right now. Also, the gold to silver ratio, if we zoom out, I've got the gold to silver ratio down here, and you can see that the gold to silver ratio had come up against this trend line, which dates back to September of 2022, where we've seen the gold to silver ratio peaking once, twice, and then we had a third peak against this. Now it is falling significantly today. Gold to silver ratio down from over 90 or right around 90 to 86.7. So if that continues to fall, that likely indicates that both the price of gold and silver will be moving higher in the short term. Gold will simply not be performing as well as silver, as typically is the case when the metals are both catching a bid, and you'll see the gold to silver ratio compress as this bull market takes off to its next phases, potentially coinciding with next month's easy monetary policy from the Federal Reserve, the much anticipated rate cuts, which are right around the corner. If you want to buy some gold and silver, make sure you check out sdbullion.com. Right now, new customers can get gold or silver at spot price by visiting sdbullion.com/new. So link down in the description. That's where I buy my gold and silver, so check them out. Now, first, before we talk about this new silver technology, which is pretty interesting, I just want to cover the news today. So what's driving silver's breakout from the month-long resistance level? Why is silver catching a bid today? Has to do with retail sales. So we got this retail sales number posting the biggest gain in 1.5 years. However, I think that this is perhaps painting a rosier picture of the economy than is actually underneath the surface. A lot of this increase in retail sales had to do with auto sales, and that is because autos were impacted by a cyber attack. If you strip out autos, retail sales rose a modest 0.4% last month, but when you include autos, it's 1%, which is a big increase, the biggest one in 1.5 years. But I think this is a little bit of just a blip on the radar here, and yet, it seems to be convincing everybody that we're out of a recession. I don't think that's the case. I think ultimately the amount of monetary stimulus the Fed is going to release is going to be a lot more than what investors are pricing in right now. However, that also ultimately will be very bullish for gold and silver. Also, to give you an idea of how these numbers are manipulated, part of the reason why this month's retail sales numbers look like such a big month-over-month increase is because that they revised down last month's data. And you can see here on this chart from Zero Hedge that, 8 of the last 12 months sales data has been revised downward. So this is similar to the jobs numbers. I mean, you can't really trust any of these numbers anyway, and yet this is seemingly creating a bid for the silver price today. And Fed is still planning to cut next month. I mean, or at least markets are anticipating that. Certainly, it's looking like at least we're going to get the first of potentially several rate cuts, 25 basis points. That's to be expected, and all of this seems to be why silver is, I think, catching a bid today. But let's talk about the long term, because Samsung just unveiled some new technology which could revolutionize electric vehicles. It's a solid state battery. Now, this is a big deal because this is going to be significantly better than existing battery technology. The battery tech affirms an average driving range of 600 miles with a rapid charge in 9 minutes and a lifespan of 20 years. So that's a huge improvement over the current lithium-ion technology. It's a better range, faster charging time, better lifespan. This is one of the most expensive and important components of an electric vehicle. Now, I know a lot of people out there maybe are, just love fossil fuels, petroleum for whatever reason. I mean, I don't really have any emotional attachment to any particular form of technology myself. I always find that to be a little strange, but if they could make batteries significantly lighter, significantly more efficient, significantly better range, then that's going to give an edge to electric vehicles eventually. I think as the tech continues to advance, we will see a transition, at least part of the auto market, to EVs. And Samsung claims that these battery packs are likely to be smaller, lighter, and safer than the existing lithium-ion batteries on the market for EV use at present. Now, they're not going to begin mass producing these right away. They are going to begin commencing mass production of this battery on 2027. So we've got a couple of years before this really kicks off. However, one of the important notes, and it's not in every article, but I found it in this one from track.in, is regarding how these batteries work. So one of the key innovations, according to this report here, and there's several papers on this you can find about Samsung's solid-state battery tech, how it works. It uses a layer of silver carbon, a composite layer of that in the anode. Addresses several of the problems that have been associated with solid-state batteries. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I'm not an electrical engineer by any means, certainly. So, I just kind of have to take their word for it when they say that, they're using silver and it's making these batteries better. Now, they say that it's only 5 micrometers thick, but I don't really know how many of these layers go into it. But there are some estimates, which we'll get into in just a moment. First of all, I do want to point out that already, industrial demand for silver is up about 50% over the past decade. And this is a trend that I believe is going to continue, not just for existing technologies like solid-state batteries and solar panels, but as we enter into the age of artificial intelligence, the age of high technology, what's coming over the next, 50 years or so, electrification, Internet of Things, all these things, we're going to see new technologies unveiled, such as this solid-state battery. And this trend of massively increasing industrial demand for silver is likely only going to accelerate from here. Keep in mind that silver has some very unique properties on the periodic table of elements that make it uniquely suited for a variety of these applications. It's the most conductive metal of electricity of all the elements. It's better than copper, it's better than gold, it's the most reflective element. It's more resistant to corrosion than certain applications than copper, for example. So it's very unique. It's also antimicrobial, while being non-toxic. So it has a lot of these very unique properties that mean that as technology advances, we're just going to need more and more silver. This, I think, will be actually a century of silver. And this is, in the long term, one of the most bullish developments for silver. So we talk a lot about, money creation, inflation, the debasement of the dollar, and certainly silver is great in that regard because it's a physical asset with history as a monetary metal. So if the amount of dollars skyrockets and inflation takes over, then yeah, silver is going to be a good thing to have. But also, there really is this fundamental case for the consumption of silver and its unique properties and how much is being used. The price is just incredibly low right now. Now, maybe there's a lot of reasons why that might be. It could be short-sightedness among investors. It could be manipulation. It could be the fact that there's a huge amount of paper silver that gets traded around for every 1 ounce of physical metal. But when you see technology advancing, expect to see silver demand rising. Now, this is from silverseek.com. It's an article regarding these batteries. And I want to look at some of these numbers. Now, keep in mind, we got to take all of this with a grain of salt. But if the speculation about these batteries is even like 10% true, then it means that the price of silver is going to be moving up quite a bit in the medium term here over, say, the next decade. Let's get into some of the numbers here. So they say because of silver in these batteries, you get the improved performance characteristics like we talked about, 600-mile range. It's about double the average range of today's batteries that we're using in EVs. You can charge it in 9 minutes. That's certainly a lot better than current charging times. It's lighter weight, which means you're going to get better efficiency out of it because you're not having to move as much battery, using power to do that. And a 20-year lifespan, because that can be a very expensive thing with these EVs. The battery wears out, you got to go get it replaced. It's like almost some huge portion of the cost of the original vehicle to do so. So if you can replace them, less frequently, that's a very positive thing. Now, this is the part that is perhaps of concern to us stackers. And again, you got to take this with a grain of salt, but let's just see what they have to say. They say that the introduction of Samsung solid-state batteries could have a substantial impact on the silver market. It's estimated that each battery cell may require up to 5 grams of silver. That would lead to a potential demand of 1 kilogram of silver per vehicle for a 100 kilowatt-hour capacity battery pack. Now, that is a lot more silver than current electric vehicles use. Yeah, there is some silver in there in the form of contacts and solder and stuff like that, but I think it's on the order of like 5 grams for an electric vehicle. It's not very much silver that goes into them. But if the batteries start consuming a significant amount of silver, like a kilogram of silver per vehicle, that's tremendous. And I think that they got these numbers from this guy, Kevin Bambrow. So again, take all of this with a grain of salt. This is from Bitcoin.com. Now, this guy forecasts that this could drive the silver price to $200. Now, honestly, that's not really that outside of the realm of possibilities. If you just consider how much inflation is likely to occur between now and 2027 on the path that we are on, then $200 maybe in a non-inflation adjusted way isn't even going to be that high of a price target. And he's giving you a 10 to 15 year time span for this increase. And I think that that's pretty reasonable. That's a long time for this to play out. But this guy says, I think this is where they get some of those estimates from, according to his estimates. So again, you got to take this with a grain of salt. Each battery cell could require up to 5 grams of silver. I think this is what SilverSeek was quoting, putting the whole requirement for an average car battery at 1 kilogram. And now that means that if 20% of yearly global car market adopted this kind of battery, 16 million electric vehicles per year, that would mean that you would need 16,000 metric tons of silver just for this per year. Now, 16,000 metric tons is equal to a little over 500 million troy ounces. Now, complete production of silver annually from mining and from recycling is around 1 billion ounces. So, again, if this is even, within orders of magnitude, the forecast here, if it's, an order of magnitude less, say it uses 50 million ounces of silver, that's still going to have a huge impact on the silver market, this new application. But 500 million ounces, $200 silver would be well within the realm of possibilities if this is accurate. And if the batteries are as, efficient and safe as Samsung claims they are, and we will see major developments in this field, then that's going to help EVs steal more market share. So it's just a testament to silver's unique properties and how important it is. Now, again, I haven't seen any evidence that there's a kilogram of silver in these batteries. This is not from Samsung. This is sort of hearsay. It's like you occasionally will hear people cite the fact that there's 500 troy ounces of silver in a Tomahawk missile. And it's like, maybe there is, maybe there's not. We don't know for sure. That's classified. I've seen no, citation or evidence. There's no documents from Raytheon that show that. It's just speculation. So that may be the case here with these batteries for a while as well. Maybe we'll get some more technical insight. I scoured around to see if I could find something more official about how much silver is going to go into these batteries. I wasn't able to find it. If you are able to find anything like that corroborates this claim of silver demand in these new solid state batteries, then feel free to leave me a comment down below. I'd be highly interested to pursue that. But again, this is just a sign of what is likely ahead for the silver market. Significantly higher industrial demand moving forward for established technologies such as solar photovoltaics. Julia Stryker says, Source, trust me, bro. Yeah, like Source, my Uncle Larry told me at Thanksgiving dinner. That's kind of the validity of these claims at this point. But I really do believe that there will be a continued increase in industrial demand. Again, over the past decade, we've seen demand increase about 50%, and yet industrial production, or rather production of silver from mining and recycling, really hasn't increased nearly that much. It's almost been flat. So you're going to need much higher silver prices before the world starts producing more of this metal, and that may be exactly what we get as silver becomes adopted more widely in these technologies. Now, Atari Legend in the chat here says, this is why silver is so cheap. If they let the price rise, nobody could afford the cars. Well, yeah, I don't think so. I think that, you're talking about a kilogram of silver. That's about $1,000 today, a little under actually at today's prices, compared to a new EV. And these would be used in high-end electric vehicles, by the way. These are going to be like, the top of the line electric vehicle batteries for the premium market. So $1,000 worth of silver is going to be a fairly inconsequential component in terms of the overall price of the car. Like, let's say silver did 10x. A kilo of silver goes to $10,000 from $1,000. I mean, that's not going to stop people from buying electric vehicles. If you're already going to spend $60 or $70 or $80, $90,000, if you're somebody who can afford a top-end electric vehicle, an extra $10,000 because of the silver content isn't really going to affect that, I don't think. So, the silver, even though silver is a component of all these things, it's a relatively inconsequential part compared to the overall cost of the devices. So I don't think that we're going to see a problem with, phones being unaffordable because silver goes up. Even though a lot of silver goes into phones, each phone only contains a tiny amount. So, that's not really a reason for silver not to go up. And it's going to be harder to afford things in the future because there's going to be a lot of inflation, and a lot of these, commodities and things are going to become much more expensive. So, unfortunately, it's true. Probably in the future, fewer people will be able to afford cars. That may be what the whole EV thing is about anyway. Trying to restrict who can have access to transportation. That is a theory that is out there that many of you probably are familiar with, and I think that there is potentially something to that. But anyway, that's really not the topic for today's video. Today's video is just to talk about the effect this could have on the price of silver, which will be very positive. So anyway, that's it for today. Keep an eye on the price of silver. It looks like it is being set up here to move higher, breaking out of key resistance today. In the short term, we've got a nice setup here, and in the long term, I think it's even better. And of course, for us stackers who are buying gold and silver bars, we're not doing that to flip them tomorrow for a profit. We're buying them because there's a very convincing fundamental bull case for the metals moving forward, none more so than in silver. Anyway, leave me a comment down below to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe and happy stacking. I'll catch you next time.